ओम असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय शांति शांति शांति। नमस्कार, शुभ सन्ध्या। आज चारजन प्रथित যশা दार्शनिक प्रवरेर स्मरणे आजकेर এই স্মারক বক্তৃতা অধ্যাপক নীরোদ বরণ চক্রবর্তী, অধ্যাপক গোপীনাথ ভট্টাচার্য, অধ্যাপক প্রবাসজীবন চৌধুরী এবং অধ্যাপক অমলেন্দু চক্রবর্তী। তাদের সংক্ষিপ্ত জীবনী আপনাদের পাঠ করে শোনানো হচ্ছে, তারপরে আমরা মূল যে বক্তৃতা তাতে প্রবেশ করব। অধ্যাপক নীরোদ বরণ চক্রবর্তী দর্শন শাস্ত্রের প্রথিত যশা অধ্যাপক এবং সুপ্রসিদ্ধ বৈদান্তিক ডক্টর নীরোদ বরণ চক্রবর্তী 1930 খ্রিস্টাব্দে অধুনা বাংলাদেশের ঢাকাতে জন্মগ্রহণ করেন। পূর্ববঙ্গেই তাঁর প্রাথমিক শিক্ষা সুসম্পন্ন হয়েছিল। দর্শন শাস্ত্রের মেধাবী ছাত্র ডক্টর চক্রবর্তী পরে কলকাতা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে স্নাতক এবং স্নাতকোত্তর পরীক্ষাতে প্রথম শ্রেণী পেয়ে উত্তীর্ণ হয়েছিলেন। ভারতীয় দর্শনের প্রগাঢ় পণ্ডিত ডক্টর চক্রবর্তী ছিলেন মহামহোপাধ্যায় যোগেন্দ্রনাথ তর্ক বেদান্ত তীর্থ, অধ্যাপক গোপীনাথ ভট্টাচার্য, অধ্যাপক কালিদাস ভট্টাচার্য প্রবাদ প্রতিম অধ্যাপকদের প্রিয় ছাত্র। অধ্যাপক কালিদাস ভট্টাচার্যের তত্ত্বাবধানেই তার অদ্বৈত বেদান্তে মিথ্যাত্ব বিষয়ক গবেষণা সুসম্পন্ন হয়েছিল। দর্শন শাস্ত্রের অধ্যাপক হিসেবে ডক্টর নীরোদ বরণ চক্রবর্তীর সুদীর্ঘ এবং গৌরবময় কর্মজীবনের সূচনা হয়েছিল কলকাতার আশুতোষ কলেজে। পরবর্তী সময়ে 1955 সালে তিনি সরকারি প্রতিষ্ঠানে অধ্যাপনায় ব্যাপৃত হয়ে প্রথমেই দার্জিলিং সরকারি কলেজের সঙ্গে যুক্ত হন। 1990 সালে তিনি কলকাতা প্রেসিডেন্সি কলেজ থেকে দর্শন শাস্ত্রের প্রফেসর এবং বিভাগীয় প্রধান হিসেবে অবসর গ্রহণ করেন। বিশিষ্ট শিক্ষাব্রতী ডক্টর চক্রবর্তী কলকাতা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়, রবীন্দ্রভারতী বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়েও দীর্ঘদিন স্নাতকোত্তর শ্রেণীতে দর্শন শাস্ত্রের অধ্যাপনা করেছেন। ফিলোসফিক্যাল কংগ্রেস অফ ইন্ডিয়ার সঙ্গেও তিনি সুদীর্ঘকাল যুক্ত ছিলেন। বিশিষ্ট রামকৃষ্ণ বিবেকানন্দ দর্শনবিদ ডক্টর নীরোদ বরণ চক্রবর্তী গোলপার্ক রামকৃষ্ণ মিশন ইনস্টিটিউট অফ কালচারের ভারততত্ত্ব বিভাগে শান্তনু সেনগুপ্ত অধ্যাপক হিসেবে দীর্ঘদিন যুক্ত থেকে ভারতীয় দর্শনের অধ্যাপনা করেছেন। এছাড়া তিনি বেলুর মঠে ব্রহ্মচারী প্রশিক্ষণ কেন্দ্র, রামকৃষ্ণ বেদান্ত মঠ এবং শারদেশ্বরী আশ্রমের সঙ্গেও যুক্ত ছিলেন। সে সময় তাঁরই তত্ত্বাবধানে অদ্বৈত বেদান্তের একখানি মূল্যবান অভিধান প্রস্তুত করা হয়েছিল। ডক্টর নীরোদ বরণ চক্রবর্তী দর্শন শাস্ত্রের মূল্যবান কয়েকটি গ্রন্থ রচনা করেছিলেন। সেগুলির মধ্যে অ্যাডভাইটা কনসেপ্ট অফ ফলসিটি, আ ক্রিটিক্যাল স্টাডি, ভারতীয় দর্শন এবং দর্শনের ভূমিকা বিশেষভাবে উল্লেখযোগ্য। ডক্টর চক্রবর্তী 1992 সালে বিবেকানন্দ জন্মোৎসব সমিতির বিবেকানন্দ পুরস্কার, 98 সালে বেদান্ত মঠের প্রদত্ত স্বামী অভেদানন্দ পুরস্কার সহ নানা সম্মানে ভূষিত হন। 2007 সালের 17 জুলাই এই শ্রুতকীর্তি অধ্যাপকের জীবনাবসান হয়। তাঁর স্ত্রী শ্রীমতী মুকুল চক্রবর্তীর পৃষ্ঠপোষকতায় এই স্মারক বক্তৃতা আয়োজন করা হয়েছে। অধ্যাপক গোপীনাথ ভট্টাচার্য পশ্চিমবঙ্গের শ্রীরামপুর অঞ্চলের 1913 সালে 23 মার্চ গোপীনাথ ভট্টাচার্য জন্মগ্রহণ করেন। আধুনিক ভারতবর্ষের যশস্বী দার্শনিক কৃষ্ণচন্দ্র ভট্টাচার্যের তিনি ছিলেন জ্যেষ্ঠ পুত্র। প্রেসিডেন্সি কলেজ এবং কলকাতা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের ছাত্র গোপীনাথ যথাক্রমে স্নাতক এবং স্নাতকোত্তর পরীক্ষায় শীর্ষ স্থান অধিকার করেছিলেন। তিনি 1931 সালে প্রেমচাঁদ রায়চাঁদ বৃত্তিও লাভ করেন। 1947 থেকে 58 পর্যন্ত তিনি প্রেসিডেন্সি কলেজের দর্শনের অধ্যাপক ছিলেন। এছাড়াও অন্যান্য সরকারি কলেজে তিনি দর্শন শাস্ত্রের অধ্যাপনায় ব্যাপৃত ছিলেন। গোপীনাথ ভট্টাচার্য যাদবপুর বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে দর্শন বিভাগের প্রতিষ্ঠাতা। এখানে তিনি দীর্ঘদিন বিভাগীয় প্রধানের দায়িত্ব পালন করেছেন। তাঁরই সুযোগ্য পরিচালনায় আজ যাদবপুর বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের দর্শন বিভাগ সেন্টার অফ এক্সেলেন্স হিসেবে পরিচিতি লাভ করেছে। 1968 খ্রিস্টাব্দে তিনি অবসর গ্রহণ করেন। তার আগে পর্যন্ত তিনি আচার্য ব্রজেন্দ্রনাথ শীল অধ্যাপক হিসেবে দর্শন শাস্ত্রের অধ্যাপনা করেছেন কলকাতা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে। পরবর্তী সময়ে তিনি ইন্ডিয়ান কাউন্সিল ফর ফিলোসফিক্যাল রিসার্চের ন্যাশনাল ফেলো নির্বাচিত হন। দর্শন শাস্ত্রের অনন্য সাধারণ অধ্যাপক গোপীনাথ ভট্টাচার্যের দার্শনিক বিশ্লেষণও ছিল অসাধারণ। তিনি দর্শনশাস্ত্র বলতেই বুঝতেন দ্য অ্যানালিসিস অফ কনসেপ্টস, ধারণার বিশ্লেষণ। সনাতন ধর্মে বিশ্বাস থাকা সত্ত্বেও গোপীনাথবাবু প্রাচ্য ও পাশ্চাত্য দর্শনের যুক্তিনিষ্ঠ বিশ্লেষণে পারদর্শী ছিলেন। দর্শন শাস্ত্রের নানা দিক সম্বন্ধে অনুরাগী গোপীনাথবাবুর দার্শনিক লেখালেখির জগৎ ছিল পরিপাটি। তিনি তার পিতৃদেব স্বর্গীয় কৃষ্ণচন্দ্র ভট্টাচার্যের রচনাবলী সম্পাদনা করেছিলেন। তিনি অন্নং ভট্টের তর্কসংগ্রহ ও দীপিকা টিকা ইংরাজি অনুবাদ করেছিলেন। এছাড়াও তার উল্লেখযোগ্য গ্রন্থ হল ধর্মরাজ, অধীরেন্দ্রকৃত বেদান্ত পরিভাষার অনুবাদ এবং এসেজ ইন অ্যানালিটিক্যাল ফিলোসফি, সাংখ্য ফিলোসফি প্রভৃতি। অধ্যাপক প্রবাসজীবন চৌধুরী। প্রবাসজীবন চৌধুরী 1916 সালের 13ই মার্চ পশ্চিমবঙ্গের শ্রীরামপুরে জন্মগ্রহণ করেছিলেন। তিনি ছিলেন ডক্টর মাখনলাল চৌধুরী এবং শ্রীমতী প্রভাবতী দেবীর জ্যেষ্ঠ পুত্র। প্রফেসর কেসি ভট্টাচার্য ছিলেন তার মাতুল এবং গোপীনাথ ভট্টাচার্যের পিস্তত ভাই। বিদ্যালয় এবং মহাবিদ্যালয়ের বৃত্তি এবং স্বর্ণপদক প্রাপ্ত প্রবাসজীবন 1939 পাটনা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় থেকে পদার্থবিদ্যায় স্নাতকোত্তর উপাধি লাভ করেন। 42 এবং 44 তিনি কলকাতা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় থেকে যথাক্রমে ইংরেজি এবং দর্শনশাস্ত্রে স্নাতকোত্তর উপাধি লাভ করেন। দর্শনশাস্ত্রে স্নাতকোত্তর স্তরের পরীক্ষায় প্রবাসজীবন উচ্চস্থানও অধিকার করেছিলেন। পরবর্তীকালে 1952 তিনি কলকাতা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় থেকেই পিএইচডি উপাধি লাভ করেন। 46 থেকে 55 পর্যন্ত তিনি কলকাতা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় থেকে স্যার আশুতোষ স্বর্ণপদক, গ্রিফিথ পুরস্কার, মোমেট পদক এবং প্রেমচাঁদ রায়চাঁদ বৃত্তি লাভ করেন। ডক্টর চৌধুরী ইংরেজি সাহিত্যের অধ্যাপক হিসেবে শিলংয়ে সেন্ট অ্যান্টনি কলেজে কর্মজীবন শুরু করেন। পরবর্তী সালে 1944 পাঞ্জাবের মোগা কলেজে অধ্যাপনার সুযোগ পেয়েছিলেন, কিন্তু তার পরবর্তী সময়ে তিনি বিশ্বভারতী বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে দর্শন, পদার্থবিদ্যা এবং ইংরেজি সাহিত্যের অধ্যাপক হিসেবে যোগ দেন। 1953 তিনি বিশ্বভারতীতে প্রফেসর পদবৃত হন এবং বিভাগীয় প্রধানের দায়িত্বও পালন করেন। অসামান্য ব্যক্তিত্ব এবং বুদ্ধিমত্তার জন্য মহিমান্বিত এই প্রবাস জীবনকে ভারতবর্ষ এমনকি বিদেশেও বহু অনুরাগী ও গুণমুগ্ধ ভক্ত আজও সশ্রদ্ধ চিত্তে স্মরণ করেন। 1959-60 অধ্যাপক চৌধুরী কর্নেল বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের ভিজিটিং ফেলো হিসেবে ইউএসএতে গিয়েছিলেন। এ সময় তিনি ক্যালিফোর্নিয়া বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে ভিজিটিং ফেলো ছিলেন। তার রচনাবলীর মধ্যে আধ্যাত্মিক জ্ঞান ও প্রেম যেন একাকার হয়ে গিয়েছে। রামকৃষ্ণ মিশনের সঙ্গেও তার ঘনিষ্ঠ সম্পর্ক ছিল। প্রায় প্রতি সপ্তাহে তিনি রামকৃষ্ণ মিশন ইনস্টিটিউট অব কালচারে ভাষণ দিয়েছেন। শ্রীরামকৃষ্ণ বিবেকানন্দ সম্বন্ধে ভারতবর্ষ এবং বিদেশেও তার ভাষণ বিশেষ সমাদৃত হয়েছে। এই স্মারক বক্তৃতা অধ্যাপক অমলেন্দু চক্রবর্তীর পৃষ্ঠপোষকতায় আয়োজিত। প্রেসিডেন্সি কলেজের দর্শন বিভাগের প্রাক্তন প্রধান অমলেন্দু চক্রবর্তী এই দুইজন প্রবাদ প্রতিম আচার্যের পদপ্রান্তে বসে দর্শন শাস্ত্রের পাঠ গ্রহণ করেছিলেন। সেই কারণে অধ্যাপক চক্রবর্তী তার এই প্রয়াসকে গুরু প্রণাম বলেই মনে করতেন এবং এই যে বক্তৃতা তিনি ইনস্টিটিউট করেন তার কয়েক বছর পরে অধ্যাপক অমলেন্দু চক্রবর্তীও তার গুরুদের কাছে অর্থাৎ সেই গুরুচরণে তিনি লীন হন এবং তারও নাম তার গুরুদের সঙ্গে একই সঙ্গে আজকে সশ্রদ্ধভাবে আমাদের এই সন্ধ্যায় উচ্চারিত হচ্ছে অধ্যাপক অমলেন্দু চক্রবর্তী। অধুনা বাংলাদেশের রাজশাহী জেলার 27 জুলাই 1936 খ্রিস্টাব্দে অমলেন্দু চক্রবর্তীর জন্ম। পিতা শচীন্দ্রনাথ ও মাতা প্রতিভা চক্রবর্তীর জ্যেষ্ঠ পুত্র ছিলেন অমলেন্দু। 1942 খ্রিস্টাব্দে অমলেন্দু চক্রবর্তী কলকাতায় আসেন ও প্রেসিডেন্সি কলেজে ভর্তি হন এবং 1959 সালে কলকাতা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় থেকে দর্শন শাস্ত্রে তিনি এমএ পাশ করেন। ডক্টর চক্রবর্তী 1961-তে ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গল এডুকেশন সার্ভিসে যোগদান করে বহু নামী শিক্ষা প্রতিষ্ঠানে শিক্ষকতা করেন ও প্রেসিডেন্সি কলেজেই দর্শন বিভাগের প্রধান হিসেবে তিনি অবসর গ্রহণ করেন। অবসর গ্রহণের পরেও অতিথি অধ্যাপক হিসেবে বিভিন্ন শিক্ষা প্রতিষ্ঠানের সঙ্গে তিনি যুক্ত ছিলেন। তার মধ্যে বেলুর রামকৃষ্ণ মিশন কলেজ, নরেন্দ্রপুর রামকৃষ্ণ মিশন রেসিডেন্সিয়াল কলেজ ও বিদ্যাসাগর বিশ্ববিদ্যালয় বিশেষভাবে উল্লেখযোগ্য। রামকৃষ্ণ মঠ ও মিশনের একাদশ সংঘাধ্যক্ষ পরম পূজ্যপাদ শ্রীমৎ স্বামী গম্ভীরানন্দজি মহারাজের কাছে তাঁর এবং তাঁর পরলোকগতা স্ত্রী শ্রীমতী দীপালী চক্রবর্তী দীক্ষা লাভ করেন। শ্রী শ্রী ঠাকুর, মা ও স্বামীজির ভাবে ভাবিত হয়ে রামকৃষ্ণ মিশনের বহু শাখা কেন্দ্রের সঙ্গে তার নিবিড় যোগাযোগ গড়ে ওঠে। উদ্বোধন ও বিশ্ববাণী পত্রিকায় অধ্যাপক অমলেন্দু চক্রবর্তীর লেখা প্রকাশিত হয়। 1993 খ্রিস্টাব্দের শিকাগো বক্তৃতার শতবর্ষ উদযাপন উপলক্ষে আয়োজিত নেতাজি ইন্ডোর স্টেডিয়ামের সভায় তিনি মূল্যবান বক্তব্য উপস্থাপিত করেন। অধ্যাপক অমলেন্দু চক্রবর্তী 2021-এ 18 মে রামকৃষ্ণ লোকে যাত্রা করেন। অধ্যাপক চক্রবর্তী তার একমাত্র কন্যা শ্রীমতী কৃষ্ণচূড়া ব্যানার্জি, জামাতা শ্রী সত্যজিৎ ব্যানার্জি, পৌত্র ও প্রপৌত্র এবং গুণী ছাত্রছাত্রী অনুরাগী ভক্তদের রেখে গিয়েছেন। শ্রীমতী কৃষ্ণচূড়া ব্যানার্জি ও শ্রী সত্যজিৎ ব্যানার্জির পৃষ্ঠপোষকতায় এই স্মারক বক্তৃতা আয়োজিত। আমরা ইনস্টিটিউটের তরফে তাদের স্বাগত জানাই এবং অভ্যর্থনাও জানাই। আজ অধ্যাপক নীরোদ বরণ চক্রবর্তী, অধ্যাপক গোপীনাথ ভট্টাচার্য, অধ্যাপক প্রবাসজীবন চৌধুরী, অধ্যাপক অমলেন্দু চক্রবর্তী স্মারক বক্তৃতা প্রদান করবেন শ্রীমৎ স্বামী তত্ত্বময়ানন্দজি মহারাজ, মিনিস্টার ইনচার্জ বেদান্ত সোসাইটি অফ নর্দার্ন ক্যালিফোর্নিয়া। মহারাজের আলোচনার বিষয় বেদান্তা, টাইমলেস ইনসাইটস, মডার্ন অ্যাপ্লিকেশনস।
It's fine. Okay, thank you. Yonda pravishyamamavachamimam prasuptam sanjeevayadi akhila shakti sudhamna anyamscha hastacharana sravanatvagadin pranan namo bhagavade purushayirubhyam. Om stapakaya cha dharmasya सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणी अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. My pranams to revered Suparnanandaji Maharaj and all other revered Swamijis who have assembled here. For me it's a unique privilege not given to everyone to be involved in this memorial lecture which is being done, which is connected to, linked to so many of these great academics, scholars, and above everything else, devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother and Swamiji. Some of them I had the privilege to meet when I was perhaps a brahmachari student in the training center in Belur Math. Some of them I'm sure I remember. For me, it is a singular blessing to be associated with this memorial lecture in the name of all these great scholars, academics, and devotees. Can you continue? Okay. So I was listening to some of the academic credentials as the devotee who was introducing all these great academics in whose name this memorial lecture is being held, and then suddenly struck me what's the most important insight from Vedantic tradition that will be of practical use in our own times. And you are going to be surprised when I tell you it is the Advaitic motto of Brahma Satyam Jagad Mithya. It may sound very strange to many of you that how this Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, how can it be something like an insight that can help us in this modern life in 21st century? That's what I'm coming to straight away. You know, without Mithya, Jagat Mithya, that's a very misleading, a very highly misrepresented concept. Brahma Satyam I am not going to discuss. We had a program recently dealing with Brahma Sutras, for which I happened to visit India this time. Brahma Satyam I am not discuss. But Jagat Mithya, that's what I am going to discuss. Jagat Mithya as being defined by four of the great post-Shankarite Advaitins in 5 different ways. Sadasatta-anadhikarnatvam va mithyatvam is from Panchapadika of Padmapada. Pradivanno vadu traikalika nishedha pradiyogitvam va mithyatvam by Panchapadika Vivarana, that is Prakashatmayadi. Sat viviktatvam va mithyatvam, Sat viviktatvam va mithyatvam by again Prakashatmayadi by Panchapadika Vivarana. Swasraya nishtha atyanta abhava pradiyogitvam va mithyatvam tattva pradibhaga Chitsukacharya. And then Jnana nivartitvam va mithyatvam. There are 2 different ways. Sometimes, Jnana nivartitvam va mithyatvam is associated with Panchapadika Vivarana, and Sat viviktatvam va mithyatvam is associated with Nyaya Deepavali of Ananda Bodha. Now, I am coming to this subject. Perhaps the most priceless and the most practical insight from Advaitic tradition is Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Its practical application. Suppose you go to a doctor, or maybe I am from the United States, we get a report from our primary caregiver doctor. Well, you have a health problem here. Normally we get terribly disturbed when we are told that we have a health problem. Or maybe bank is collapsing, stock markets, share markets are collapsing, or some near dear ones have died recently. These are very, very disturbing news. Now, if you believe Jagat Mithyatvam, you can face this problem with a smile. You won't be disturbed. When you get a report from your doctor, you have a health problem, or when you get information from the stock exchange that the stock markets are collapsing, you are losing millions of dollars, millions of rupees. You may face the problem. You may, if you are facing a health problem, you may go to a doctor. You may go for the most advanced treatment, and you may meticulously plan your treatment programs, everything. But you will do it without being disturbed, without being distracted. That is the magic of Jagat Mithyatvam. Why? Because Vedanta tells you this world in which we are living, all that we see around, all that we consider to be near and dear ones, important, valuable things, they are there, but they are not going to be there all the time. If you are facing a problem, the problem is not going to be there all the time. Just as we had a phase when we are experiencing happiness, joy, which is impermanent, which is proved when we face a problem. It means happiness has changed to unhappiness. Similarly, this unhappiness also is impermanent. It is big, again it will come back to happiness. So, Mithyatva means change, impermanence is there, but not going to be there all the time. Many of the misunderstandings about Mithyatvam or Advaita Vedanta have been caused by a very serious problem with Sri Bhashya of Ramanuja and also Sudaprakashika with Sudarsana Suri's commentary on Ramanuja Sri Bhashya. So you can find this this Maha Purvapaksha, that is Sapta Vidha Anubhavati Vada, 7 untenables. I mean, I'm not going to technical details, but that's not the subject right now in front of me. But Pramana Anubhavati, Swasraya Anubhavati, then this Tirodhana Anubhavati, Anivachaniya Anubhavati. There are many such 7 untenables. All these are being caused by one problem. Mithyatvam was misinterpreted to be avidya or asat or non-existence. Advaita doesn't tell you this world doesn't exist. Advaita doesn't tell you you are not sitting there. Advaita only tells you that you won't be sitting there all the time. After 1 hour you will be back to your home. So this fundamental impermanence of everything in this empirical world, in the phenomenal world, in our own life, this is the central theme of this, the second preposition of Advaita, Jagat Mithya. Now, actually, this was the dictum, this was the moral philosophy that produced many great men in this world. I am coming from San Francisco. Swami Tattwamayananda was the one who built the first Hindu temple in 1905. You know, before coming to San Francisco, he was wandering the Himalayas with a long beard, like a wanderer, and with nothing actually with him. Now, this Swami became more efficient as an organizer, as a CEO, when he came to San Francisco. His personality was, in fact, the efficiency, the work ethic, the result-oriented dedication, all these that you find that you associated with Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, or many of the great CEOs of the world were rolled into one in the personality of Swami Tattwamayananda. You know what he did within almost 13 years, less than 13 years? He built the first Hindu temple in the world. He reorganized the entire Vedanta society. He built, and again he established centers around, and he started printing press. All this he did in 13 years. Shankaracharya, 32 years. You know, 32. You know what all he did? Can you imagine the energy of a Napoleon? The organization skill of Julius Caesar, or modern captains of industry like Bill Gates, and the courage, the humanism, all that you find in Shankaracharya. In 32 years, he traveled all over India 4 times, wrote the most magnificent philosophical classics in Sanskrit language, no less than 91 classic poetical classics, 4 monasteries, if you count Kanji 5, and founded 10 monastic orders, and then installed temples. You know, this Aditya Ambigam Vishnum Gananatham Maheswaram Pancha Yajna Baro Nityam Grihastha Pancha Pujiyet. The way we do puja in our temples today, Devi, Krishna, Shiva, and so on, all that he did, Pancha Devata Puja, 10, and then that is great Sarmada Sthapaka, all that he did in 32 years. The most wonderful condensation of Shankaracharya's life and personality was not written by an Indian or a Hindu, by a Sister Nivedita in the greatest Western disciple of Swamiji in the Web of Indian Life. And she concludes, this is a greatness that we can never appreciate. This is a greatness that we can never understand, but can only appreciate from a distance. Swami Vivekananda. Just imagine, he was a college student. He was in India till 1893. He passed away in 1902. He preached only for 4 or 5 years in India, altogether to visit the United States. Here what we have the Vedanta, spreading all over the world, discussed about all over the world, Sri Ramakrishna being worshipped in hundreds of Vedanta Ramakrishna mission centers around the world, speaking different languages, eating different kinds of food. In France, in Russia, in Japan, in the United States, all over Europe, in Australia, the same Sri Ramakrishna being worshipped. How did this happen? One great monk worked for just about 9 years. This is a result. So what's the reason behind it? They worked and worked and worked, but they never thought they ever worked. So if you can be very intensely active, you can be 100% hyperactive, you can roll in your personality, the efficiency of a Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, the energy of a Napoleon who slept only for 2 years every day. What happens is, you do everything, but mentally you detach yourself from this work. This unique concept of Swadharma or Karma Yoga, this is based on the idea of Jagat Mithyatvam, because everything in this world is impermanent. So that conviction helps you to remain detached, even when you are hyperactive. Even when you are active 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, you are hyperactive, doing great things. Vivekananda has shown this, Shankaracharya, Sri Ramakrishna has shown this, less than 50 years. So this is the magic of Jagat Mithyatvam. The idea of Karma Yoga, the idea of Swadharma, the idea of combining secular and spiritual into one way of life. Spiritualizing the secular, doing everything with a spiritual perspective. And that spirituality takes the form of doing everything with all sincerity, with a sense of sanctity and sacredness, but remaining detached. This idea, of course, if you read Plato's Republican Philosopher King, but it doesn't have a spiritual component actually. As this Indian concept of, Rajarshi, you find in the Gita. In fact, Lord Krishna himself discussed the subjects. Imam vivasude yogam praktavanahamavayam vivaswan manave praha manhu ikshakavya bravir evam parambira praptam imam rajasyo viduhu sakalena iha mahada yogo nashta parandava. So from ancient times, this lineage of great philosopher kings, they on the one hand worked very hard, on the other hand they never thought they did anything, because from a Advaitic point of view, Atman is akarta bhokta. Whatever you are doing is the function of sharira and indriya. So that is one thing. But I am not coming to that metaphysical perspective. I am coming to the practical applications in modern life. So what happens is, when you do everything as your duty, as something that justifies our existence in this world, it's called Swadharma, Swabhava Niyatam Karma. There are many things that we can do. But if you can do something that is linked to our own spiritual track, and whatever we do, whatever happens to be the situation in which we are to function in this world, if we do with a sense of sanctity and sacredness, total dedication, at the same time detached. This is the greatest message, and it is the practical application of the Rajarshi concept. Actually, in the Shankarananda Saraswati's Tika, Rajarshi ideal is very philosophically expounded. Rajattum Aishwarya Sambatti Rishuttum Tasyaha Sukshmartha Darsana Kshamattum. See, Rajattum implies efficiency, power, prosperity, Aishwarya Sambatti, success as we understand in modern world. Rishittum Tasyaha Sukshmartha Darsana Kshamattum. When we can understand this Aishwaryam, empirical prosperity, material prosperity, is not going to remain permanent. That is the Sukshmartha Darsana Kshamattam, the understanding the subtle truth of all empirical prosperity, all kinds of empirical prosperity and success. That is not going to be permanent, that's not going to remain there all the time. So that helps us to detach ourselves from whatever we are doing. This is actually, surprisingly, it is found in so many other traditions. Take, for example, mindfulness. It's a very big thing in the United States, mindfulness. Our own doctors, our own devotees in San Francisco, they come to me asking questions of mindfulness. And they have to conduct classes on mindfulness to some other doctor colleagues. When I tell them mindfulness is not a new product of American pharmaceutical industry. Mindfulness is based on Buddha's Sativattana Sutta or Mahasativattana Sutta. Buddha delivered two discourses, one for the monastics, shorter form is Sativattana Sutta, and the much more elaborate form, a version is Mahasativattana Sutta. It means Smriti Upasthana Sutram in Sanskrit. Means you are always aware of it, but you are also established in detachment. You understand everything, but you are not getting caught. You are not being entangled. You are not being imprisoned, not trapped by what you are experiencing. You should be aware of it, but you should be detached from it. The old Sakshi concept, according to Vedanta Desika, is this. That is, that one is Bodhrutvam Audasinyatvam. That's how he defines Sakshi, is a witness. Witness is a person who is aware of something, but not involved in what he has witnessed. See, if you are going to a court of law, and if you want to qualify as a witness, you should not be part of the event that you are supposed to have witnessed. At the same time, you should be aware of it. So, when we are aware of everything, at the same time, that awareness doesn't catch us, doesn't trap us. If you are not aware, you won't be able to practice detachment. So, this idea is the practical application of Jagat Mithyatva. Mithya means everything in this world that we are living with, living in, interacting with, but then also understanding it is impermanent. It's not going to be the all time. This actually can help us in conserving our energy. It can help us in fight problems of anxiety, other problems. Why should we get anxious? We become anxious because we believe, though we know intellectually, but emotionally we are not able to understand and remember that what we are experiencing is a passing phase, not going to be there all the time. It will be there, but not for all time. So that will help us to deal with the problem, at the same time be aware of it. And with remaining undisturbed, remaining without being trapped, without anxiety and worry, because anxiety and worry can take away a lot of our energy or focus and concentration. Now, for doing this, there is something very important, that is food. Not physical food, mental food. So, ancient Vedantic traditions talk about different kinds of associations. In the Patanjali Yoga Sutra also, all the obstacles, all the different kinds of obstacles that people face in their life are often used to, are linked to, or because of bad food that we give to our mind. We take very good care of the food that we eat. We know if we drink rotten food, we fall sick and we will die. If you drink ditch water, we will fall sick and we will die. But we don't remember that bad food also can make us fall sick mentally. And mentally it can lead to death. That we often forget. In Indian tradition, not only in Vedanta, which is accepted in Vedanta, yamas and niyamas are two important components which in a way are linked to food for the mind. Ahimsa, Satya, Steya, Brahmacharya, Parigriha, Chauja, Santosha, Tapaswadhyaya, Isabridhana. Two important disciplines without which one should not ever undertake any kind of yoga practices or meditation. Actually, this dhyana and all other practices are recommended much later. So, if we can take care of our food, the food that we give to our mind, that's one way of remaining mentally healthy. In the Charaka Sukta, mental health is defined in a very comprehensive manner. Samadosha samaknischa samadhatu malakriyaha. Then prasannatmendriya manaha. First, the physical health is defined. Then second, prasannatmendriya manaha sosthaga iti apidhyate. Who is a mentally healthy person? What's the definition of healthy mindedness? Prasannatmendriya manaha. We should be able to remain in a state of prasannata. In Sanskrit means ayatna lalitatva. Means one should remain in a state where totally free from any kind of anxiety, worry, or any kind of friction within. Our mind should be in good terms with ourselves. When our mind is our best friend, there will be no problems for anyone. The best way, so this the greatest message of the Jagat Mithyatvam is, it is a wonderful tool, instrument to turn our mind into our best friend. Because when our mind becomes our enemy, then when we try to do something good, our mind will not cooperate with us. We can test our own mind. Suppose we want to go for a walk every day, we take a decision after reading a book, maybe it's an important thing to go for a walk every day. So if our mind is not willing to cooperate, if the mind is not a best friend, when the time comes, we may pause, maybe tomorrow onwards I should go for a walk. This could happen to any good thing that we may be planning to do. So our best friend is somebody who will encourage us, to help us to do something that is actually good for us. Our enemy is somebody who will encourage us when we try to do something bad for us. In our real life also, if your friend asks you to go for a drink every day, he's certainly not your best friend. If a friend talks to you about the problems, about the dangers of alcoholism, he's certainly your best friend. So also our mind. That's why Patanjali analyzes human mind and what we call vrittis from a very interesting standpoint. Where kshiptam, mudam, vikshiptam, egagram, niruddham. This is his analysis of human mind based on vrittis and their functions. Kshiptam and mudam belong to somewhat abnormal state. Vikshiptam is natural for every human being. So when we attend a lecture, when we join a prayer, we feel very happy, we feel relaxed. But when we get back to our home, we feel, well, we are back to square one. That peace of mind is gone. Next day again, when we come to Vedanta Society or Ramakrishna Institute, when we listen to lecture, when you attend a prayer, again mind is happy. It is called Vikshipta state, which is normal for all human beings. So, how to slowly enable our mind to ascend from Kshiptam to Mudam and Vikshiptam. Kshiptam and Mudam are more or less the same, not very different. One is confusion, perplexities and worries or total inaction. These are two states in Kshiptam state and Mudha state. But in Vikshipta state, mind, we want to do something good. Mind wants to do something good. But mind is not our best friend. Whenever we try to do something good, mind creates an obstacle. Whenever we see listening to some spiritually invigorating programs, we feel disturbed. Or when you try to meditate, mind gets disturbed. If you want to rush out of the prayer hall, maybe out of the prayer room. When you open the TV, mind is very happy. So, our mind is not willing to help us in doing something that is actually good for us. Such a mind is a hostile mind. A mind, on the other hand, which encourages you, which helps you, all right, go ahead. When you try to meditate, when you try to read a good book, or doing anything that is eventually spiritually helpful, which is cooperating, is enthusiastic, that mind is our best friend. So when we can remember in our mind that everything in this world is impermanent, at the same time we should not remain inactive. I want to again go back to Shankara. Shankaracharya never said that we should give up laugika karmas. He only told us to give up vaidika karmas. So whenever you find in Advaita that karma should be given up, what he means is you should give up all vaidika karmas. What are vaidika karmas? Dharakni Sahidam Karma. This is Mandana's in his Vidhi Viveka. He was the author of Brahma Siddhi. This is how he defines karma, a ritual. So, a married person with his wife sitting in front of fire and performing yajnas and yagas, the Dharakni Sahidam Karma. And then saying that These are only teachings of Vedas. Jaimini and Shabara, Kumarlabhatta, Prabhakara. All these four great names in Purvamimamsa, and also Vrittigaras like Upavasha, Bodhainadis, they always insisted that every person should practice Vaidika karmas all his life. What are Vaidika karmas? Karmas done with strong desire for worldly life. So, Amanayasya Kriyarthatvat Anarthakim Adhadathanam. It is common motto for all these great Mimamsakas. From Jaimini onwards, in Jaimini comes a Purvavaksha, but Jaimini accepts that. Shabara's Bhashya on Jaimini, Kumarlabhatta's Bhashya on Shabara Bhashya, and Slogavartika and Tantravartika, and Brihadi, the great work of Prabhakara. All of them say that these Vedic rituals to be performed by married householders only for material prosperity. For example, Bhuyasya Sharadashadat, Pabriyama Sharadashadat. Like that, Pashyama Sharadashadat, Jivema Sharadashadat. Let me live for 100 autumn seasons. It means long life or other prosperity. Or there is a Varuneshti or Varuna Yajna, the Putrakameshti, all these Yajnas and Yagas, Shankaracharya said, these rituals alone do not constitute the dharma of Vedanta. So on the other hand, Vedanta tells you about some universal divine spark that is present everywhere, Atma, Brahman, everywhere. That philosophical aspect I am not going to right now. What it means is, Shankaracharya mentioned, in material life you should be active, you should be efficient. I have to give one important example from Gita. This is a very classic example. Saktaha karmani avidvamso yatha kurvandi bharata kuryan vidvan tatha asaktaha chigishuhu loka sangraham. I am going to demonstrate in words how a person who learns these Vedantic insights from Gita or Upanishad can actually make use of this in his own life. So two persons are mentioned in this sloka. Saktaha karmanya vidvamso. On the one hand, one person, Sakta, he is attached. He is always thinking about how much money I can get. He is obsessed with success, money, wealth. Karmani, avidvamsaka. Because he doesn't know the message of Vedanta. So Lord Krishna says, Saktaha karmani avidvamso yadha kurvanti bharata. But he's working with great enthusiasm, like a Henry Ford, like Carnegie, like Warren Buffett, or Bill Gates, or any of them. I'm giving examples of well-known names in Western world, because they are the archetypal examples of. It's the early days, not now we have everyone, there are many great Indians also. But they were supposed to be examples of this obsession with success at any cost. Money, wealth, I should enjoy this world. This is the motto. But what happens is, when you work with that kind of greed, that kind of obsession for success, your life doesn't succeed. Maybe a business may succeed, but life is a failure. What happens is, when we work hard with the great obsession and greed for success and profit, it hurts our mind. Our mind is torn apart. When a person, he makes a huge pile of wealth, billions of dollars, when his life comes to the end of, when he comes to the end of his life, he doesn't have the mental health to enjoy the fruits of his own life. He can't sleep without without 4 pills. He can't get 3 hours, 4 hours sleep he can't get. His anxiety and worries and his obsession with the utilitarian obsession. Everything should be judged in terms of basic, fundamental, empirical utility. Nothing more. That kind of obsession for success will have a very harmful effect on the mind. And the result is depression, worries, anxieties. There are many problems of abundance, they call in Japan, Sweden, where government is taking care of all their needs. But nobody is happy. There are huge old age homes Government is taking care of everything, but nobody is happy. So their life is successful only in terms of their business and the money. Life is a total disaster in terms of inner happiness. So this is one person, Saktaha Karmani Avidvamsa. He's Sakta, attached, obsessed. If he may be a billionaire, but if he gets a report that he has lost $1,000, he can't sleep. So this is what. Then Kuryan Vidwan Tatha Asaktaha Chikishu Loka Sangram. So Vidwan is a person who knows this Vedantic message of detachment or non-attachment. What happens, he works with the same enthusiasm, maybe more successful. Tatha, the word is, it's the same enthusiasm which is displayed by this man of great desire and obsession, profit and success. With the same enthusiasm, the other man is working, but is asakta, detached. In fact, if you want to ask the question, how could Shankaracharya do so much? How did Vivekananda accomplish so much? There is a simple answer: they did not waste their mental energy. By worrying, complaining, being anxious, we do that, Sometimes when we do a lot of work, then we feel, at that time mind gets tired. That's one thing, maybe pronunciation needs some improvement perhaps, But the point is, when we do some work, then we say, I've done a lot of work. That makes us worried or tired. Suppose our work itself becomes a sport, a leela it's called. In fact, in Vedanta itself, there are many wonderful examples. Leela Nyayena. This is how God created this world. Leela Nyaya means somebody who had a heavy, wonderful meal, bhandara, then automatically begins to sing some minor song. It is called, so God created this world like a natural breath, like shwasa, breathing out, breathing in, effortlessly. So a great karma yogi can do everything as a play, not as a great effort. When you play, you don't work very hard. Suppose you want to play football in the evening after working 16 hours in an office. You want to play football. Then you put so much of energy. Then you don't enjoy football play. A football team, Argentina, in Brazil, they may be working out every day 10 hours. For them it is work. But for a computer expert, football is a play. Because when you never get tired when you do anything for hobby. You get tired only when you do it as a business. Business means we are worried, we plan, we think, we are obsessed. We are fully focused on that. And that makes us physically tired, mentally tired. So physical fatigue will be there because body is made of 5 elements. But at the same time, mind will never get fatigued or tired when we do our work as a play. The effortlessness, the serenity, the natural effortlessness, spontaneous effortlessness. That's one quality of ayatna lalida, what in Sanskrit they call it. Ayatna lalida. No effort, but natural, serenity. So if we can look at the entire world, our own life, as a play, again, it doesn't remember negligence to duty. It doesn't mean negligence duty, or it doesn't mean indifference. Not at all. That's why Gidakara, Lord Krishna makes it very clear. Saktaha karmanya vidvamso yatha kurvandi bharata kuryan vidvan tatha asaktaha. The man who is obsessed and worried, fully focused and anxious and taking pills for anxiety, neurosis and depression, making a lot of money, but absolutely having no peace of mind, saktaha, attached. That person is very active, very efficient, very dynamic, not at all indifferent. And Gita says, the person who is totally free from attachment, who is totally detached, that is Kuryat vidwan tatha asaktaha. The other person who is totally detached or non-attached, probably doing everything with great care, great attention, great efficiency, great identification, but detached. It's not an easy thing to do, of course. If you can manage to do it, you can smile at your own life. You can face all problems with a smile. That's why Maharaj, I have about 10 minutes more. 10 minutes? Okay, fine. Okay. Now, in the Yoga Sutra, there is one sutra in Kaivalyapada, which says, this is not the result of any effort on our part. This state of mind can automatically come. If you feed your mind with good food, because mind is like a dog, don't mind my comparison. People take care of their dogs and give wonderful food, and dog is very happy. It will wag its tail, it will be grateful. Suppose you feed your dog with a thorn or some pebbles, it bites you. Mind does the same thing. If you give good food to the mind is very friendly. If you give toxic food to the mind falls sick, but it will bite at you. What is this? But this biting takes the form of anxieties, depression, worries. In fact, the country I'm coming from, a huge percentage of people are suffering from depression, anxiety, neurosis. It's a common practice there. Now the reason is so much of obsession. So Yoga Sutra says, Nimittam aprayojagam prakritinam varana bhedastu tadha kshetrigavat. Patanjali doesn't use many illustrations or analogies. So he says, he gives the example of a farmer who is trying to irrigate the field, bringing water from a river or from a pond. So what he does is, he cut a canal and water begins to flow to the canal from a river. So Patanjali says, he is not cutting a canal, he is only removing the unnecessary sand and soil from that part of the earth where he is cutting the canal. Another comparison given in some other commentaries, suppose you are given a granite block, and you are a sculptor, and you are trying to build Buddha's image. What do? You chisel out all unnecessary parts from the granite block. The result is Buddha emerges. Similarly, Yoga Sutra tells you what we need to do is we should remove all impurities from our mind. Then our mind automatically becomes our best friend. And the best way to remove impurities is to engage in good activities. Because according to Yoga and Vedanta, any physical activity, when we do, it produces a spiritual asset. And that means if our mind is not working okay, if any difficulty, it means our mind has a lot of toxic material accumulated in it. And along with that, we also should add some good food. So what happens is, the percentage of good food, good actions, good results, good samskaras, tendencies, vasanas, vrittis will increase, and proportionately there will be less of toxic material in the mental system and more of healthy material. When this happens, what will happen is our mind becomes a best friend. Now I can tell you another thing from history. Swamiji, when he returned to the United States in 1897. So he gave his first lecture, he comes in Colombo to Almara lectures, in Floral Hall in Colombo. In that lecture, he makes a striking statement. He says, if Manu returned to India today, he won't be bewildered, and he won't find himself in a strange land. if Manu returned to India today, he won't be bewildered. He won't find himself in a strange land. Swamiji uses this with slightly different wordings. Now, what did Swamiji mean by that? Swamiji was not an unbiased critic or admirer of Manusmriti. He has strong words to say about Manusmriti, you know. Manu says, Asutantra striyakarya purushai so devanisham. He says, Asutantra striyakarya purushai swai divanisham vishayeshu sajjanti samsthapya atmano vashe. Asutantra striyakarya. Women should be kept without any freedom. Manu said something absolutely unacceptable. It's absolutely obscene, so to speak. Manu also says, Yatra naristu pujindi tatra deva ramandicha, Yatra edastu na pujindi tatra sarva phala kriyaha. The greatest honor to be given should be given to ladies. Manu says, wherever women are honored, respected, and admired, and recognized, everything will be wonderful. There will be prosperity, there will be success, there will be everything. Wherever they are not respected and honored, everything will go in vain. So Manu has a lot of great things to say, and also certain things which may be something to do in those contemporary conditions. But that Manu, for whom Swamiji has strong words of criticism and also great admiration for some other reasons, because it contains a lot of great values, virtues, and so on. Swamiji says, that Manu who lived in Vedic times, that may be 8,000 years ago, maybe 6,000 BC, or maybe earlier, during early Vedic times, if that Manu returned to India in 1897, our own times more or less, close to our own times, Swamiji says, he will find the same ancient Vedic culture continuing in India. The continuity and equity and the contemporary relevance. This you find only in our ancient Vedantic tradition. This is something very interesting. Look at the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, the Sumerians, the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Incans, the Chinese. All those civilizations have vanished from the face of earth. We can see the pyramids, but the technology that built that pyramids, we don't know much about. But we know very well how they built those temples. Those temples are still being built in India. Even in Silicon Valley, where I'm coming from, there are temples which closely resemble ancient Hindu temples of ancient India. The music, the art, the literary traditions, they are continuing for thousands of years in India. They are not to be found only in museum, as is the case with the Aztecs, Mayans, or Incans, or Sumerian, Egyptian civilizations. You can see the living manifestations everywhere, even foreign countries which I am coming from. Why? Because they did have a practical application, these values. Great men, not only rishis, they were not only householders, not just monks only, also householders also. They played a very important role. In the Manu himself says, Tasmat trayopyasramino jnanena annena cha annadam grihastena ivadharinde tasmat jyeshthasami grihi. Of the Brahmacharya, Garhastya, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas ashramas. Grihasthasami means a senior most, because they are the ones who give food to the Brahmachari, because they don't generate wealth. Also Vanaprasthins are being protected by Grihasthas, and also Sannyasins. So what it means is, we have this unique, wonderful system of Chadurvidha Purusharthas, that is Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Our pursuit of Artha and Kama should be based on the foundations of Dharma. Then what happens, one day we'll understand Artha and Kama have their limitations. We'll be able to look for something transcendental, that is moksha. So this ancient tradition, there's many applications. I don't say that dharma, artha, kama, moksha as such, but then there are different manifestations in modern times. Swamiji in modern times, he said we should combine the best of the Western with the best of the Eastern, the best of the Occidental with the best of Oriental. Now that demarcation has almost disappeared. But technically, historically, they did have their great relevance because Western culture, Greco-Roman heritage always represented efficiency, action, dynamism. It's called Rajoguna. And traditionally, our Indian culture always represented, always reflected what do you call a search for something transcendental, something that goes beyond this world. We should combine this both. And we should, for that reason, we should spiritualize the secular. Even ordinary activities that we do can be done in a spiritual manner. I mean, that is the essence of, Shiva Jnane, Jiva Shiva, all these new messages. So I don't want to go further, but I want to conclude by saying that our culture, our tradition, Vedantic tradition, always had a very practical application. That could be, many of these values could be applied in our individual life, in our family life, and also in national life. Indian culture and tradition was never weak. There are many, many great teachings in the Smriti literature, Dharma Shastras, which always visualized a vibrant society, which is strong economically, in terms of organization, even militarily. Great men, great statesmen of ancient India like Chanaka, Arthanidhi, they all, even Vidura. Vidura has some interesting statement, you'd be shocked. Vidura says, practice of ahimsa, when it creates greater harm to society, is worse than himsa. Vidura says, for a king to practice inaction or imbecility on the face of difficult situations, not taking proper action at the right time, is an act of treason, as an act of himsa. So all these great ideas you find, okay, I don't want to go long further. Our ancient culture and tradition can be a foundation for building a healthy society, a healthy family, and a strong, prosperous nation. Thank you. It's a great privilege for me to be here and then to talk on this subject, especially when this is in memory of some very distinguished, great sons and daughters of India. Great devotees, great scholars, great professors. Thank you so much. I convey my pranams and thanks to Swami Suparnananda Maharaj for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Tattwamayananda for very lucid elucidation of the idea, content in your lecture. We are very much happy and thankful to you for making everything so clear. I think our devotees, they understood each and every word that fell from your dear lips. The single thing that we should remember, that we are also doing karma, but not doing karma as the karma conditions. The say Kumaril Bhatta and others used to do that, and Shankaracharya had to fight a lot with them and established this Naiskarma Siddhi Tattva. But this Naiskarma is a karma. It is not end of all karmas. It is also karma done not for the enjoyment of ourselves. We have to do karma, but we have to do it with a view to becoming loko sangraha chikitsu. Chikitsu loko sangraha. We have to spend the entire money. But after keeping what is basically necessary for your own well-being, you have to keep up. That way you can make your karma Shuddha. So Shuddha karma you have to take up. Your mind has to be controlled towards that. That is the only option that is left for us. Shuddha karma will produce Shuddha buddhi, and with Shuddha buddhi we have the vision of Shuddha Atma. So karma has been eulogized by Shankaracharya in this very particular way. And in Swamiji's hands, the idea has become more explicit. So it has been permeating our own society like a wildfire, I should say. Everybody now talks of karma yoga, seva yoga, care yoga. You have to take care of others as much as you take care of yourselves. So others not others as such. So in that sense, that is the true explanation of Jagat Mithyattva. So in a very positive way, Swamiji has dealt with. So Maharaji, we are very thankful to you, and he is really a genius, as you have understood it. He quoted from his memories. From so many scriptures, without consulting the notes. That has made him what he is now. Thank you, Maharaj. Once again, I just...
Thank you.
I offer my love, regards, and salutations to Ajay. Thank you.